think play is one of those things that it's very, very hard to define, and we all know when we're doing it, if you will, and we have a lot of assumptions about it. So part of what we wanted to do was to put words up and give you an opportunity to begin playing with some of your ideas and assumptions about play, about learning, about development, because much of the work that we do is to deconstruct, take apart, begin to look at what we mean by these things as part of a process of creating something new. So I'm a Vygotsky. How many people have heard of Vygotsky? Vygotsky was a Russian psychologist. He was born in the late 19th century, and he lived a very short life till the mid-30s, till he was in his mid-30s. And he was the part of, at the beginning of the Soviet Union, his job, if you will, was to create a new psychology, to discover what development was, what learning was. And he wrote very little about play, but it's been extremely influential, both to us and to other people. What he said about, one of the things he said about play is that we think of play, when very young children are playing, they're both creating an imaginary situation, right? You be the firefighter, I'll be the turtle. And they are creating rules, right? When you watch young children play, they're not following the rules of the game the way you would follow the rules of the game of Monopoly or baseball, but they are creating the rules as they go along. When you say, I'll be the mommy, the person has some rules in mind of what it is to be a mommy. So what Vygotsky said is that's what's so incredibly growthful about play for young children, is that we have room for one chair right here, actually.
Chair right there.
Not to make you...
Sorry.
You don't have to be sorry for being two people. It's good. That the thing about play is that children are creating the rules and the play simultaneously, right? They're not having to follow somebody else's rules. They're making them up as they go along. And so what Vygotsky identified is that when they do that, they actually perform a head taller, is what he said, than what they are. Right? In play, children can do what they can't do other places. And one of the reasons for that is because they're the ones creating the very rules that they then follow. So if I say to Rye, who's Jane's little boy who I take care of, if I say to him, I want you to sit there and be quiet, the chances of him doing that are about 0. But if Rye and his little friend Lorelei say, let's play school, okay, sit down and be quiet. They will do that, and they will do it often for quite long. So that was sort of it's a very provocative and fascinating aspect of play that nobody had really talked about before. Lots of people make use of that, particularly in early childhood. And one of the things people say about it is it's in the playing with rules that children actually learn to follow rules, right? If you start out by creating your own rules and following them, then 5 years later, when you get to school and somebody says, sit down and be quiet, you actually can do that because you've grown and developed enough to be able to be a rule follower. So lots of people say the value of early childhood play, very, very important. If you missed that, it was a great article in the Times maybe 3 or 4 months ago about play teaching children, what's the word for it,
Restraint?
Self-regulation, yeah, a fancy word for that. that if you don't play when you're little, you actually don't learn how to regulate yourself later. Okay, so as I said, lots of people make use of that aspect of play now in early childhood. Here's where we come in. We are, as I said, the East Side Institute is interested in creating new approaches to human development, and a key piece of that is we are absolutely sure, if you will, that it's necessary for people to keep developing. That development that you see in early childhood, if we're going to grow as a species, has to continue. We can't let it just stop at the age of 5 when children come to school and they're basically told, great, you did all that wonderful work, to learn how to be a rule follower. Now what we want you to do is follow the rules, right? So what we take that quote of Vygotsky's that talks about play and children being a head taller, and we say that's true for everybody. That if you create environments for people to play, they can grow, they can develop. And it makes sense to us because in play, we are most connected to our ability to be creators. Right? It's in that play we all did as young children that we even learned that we were creators, that we were people who could make things and make things up. So it's in reinitiating people's ability to play that we think there is hope for human beings to keep growing. And that's both true for individuals, so two people playing together and they're making a family together in that kind of play, and we dare to say that's true for people in the Middle East. It's true for urban poor kids in the middle of Bed-Stuy, that relearning how to play is what's needed to reinitiate human development. Last thing before I start asking questions. I think that takes a relooking at what you mean by play. Because what we're not saying, even despite our wonderful activities, is that everybody should go back to playing Duck, Duck, Goose on a regular basis. I mean, feel free if you want. I actually just met this, I just went yesterday to visit an organization in Newark that called Playworks that puts play coaches in schools to teach kids how to do recess. And one of the really cool things, their offices are in a big office building in Newark, and they've decided to start doing a recess for everybody in the office building. Like they only have one little suite, but now every day they all go downstairs to the lobby and do recess in the lobby for everybody, which I think is great. Anyway, but that we're not talking about, because the fact is we do grow up, we do learn how to follow rules, and we also get more skilled at many, 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 many other things. So what we're talking about is rethinking about what play is and remembering the part about play that's about people creating and coming together and making things out of what is, right? When young children play, they use whatever they have available to them to play together. So we're talking about that from play. And the term we've come to believe is most valuable for that understanding of play once you get older is performance. Because performance is the other aspect of life where we get to be not only who we are, but be somebody else, be who we're not. Right? That's what actors do up on a stage, and nobody accuses them of being false or fake or all those things. They are able to play with their character, if you will, and who they are. So we've come to use and understand performance as what adults and older children and adolescents can do as one of the ways to reinitiate development. So, back to this group. For the last, varying from 10 to 12 years to the last 2 or 3 years, all of these educators and I have been working to create an environment where we could play together. And the material we have to play with, if you will, is all of our knowledge as educators and what we think about learning and what we do in our classrooms, and we come together and we make use of that in attempting to create something new, something that could be of value to all of them in the work that they do. What we're looking to do is create an environment where we can grow, right? Where we can be playing as adults so that we can grow, so that we have something to give back to the children and young people that we work with. One of the trickiest things about this work, but I think what makes it valuable, is it doesn't have a particular learning objective in mind. We're not looking to create children who necessarily do better on tests. We're not even looking to create people who learn a particular thing. We think what's failing in our schools is that nobody's learning that they're a learner. Right? They're learning lots of things, or not, but they're not discovering that they're a learner. And so our work is mostly focused on creating environments where people can help children make that discovery.